Welcome to Connect with Rohan on Ideal Island to talk about whether a head of state or a politician's visit abroad or within the country, but especially abroad, is an official visit or whether it's a private visit or a mixture of both. To sort out the official protocol, I'm delighted to be joined today from Colombo, an experienced diplomat who has represented Sri Lanka as ambassador in many countries, as well as he was chief of protocol at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Sri Lanka. So I've got the best person to talk about all about it. Mr. P.M. Amza, former diplomat, now retired, joins me from Colombo. Mr. Amza, a very warm welcome to this program.
Thank you, Rohan. It's a pleasure to be connected with you, and after a long time.
Very long time. It's indeed a pleasure to have you on board on my program. Now, let's clear the sensitive areas. We are not talking about a particular individual or a particular case. So this is a general conversation to understand from the point of view of the protocols at the Foreign Ministry, how one defines a visit of a head of state or any politician for that matter, whether his visit overseas is part of an official trip or whether it's a private one or a mixture of both. Because in reality, whenever there is an official visit, there will always be an element of a private visit. Perhaps you could give us the formal background, Mr. Amza.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you very much for having me with you, and it's a pleasure to be connected with you after a long time. I remember fondly the connection that we established way back in London during my London times, and you have been an extremely helpful Sri Lankan expatriate at that time. It's a pleasure to be connected with you. And coming back to your questions, I think this the subject that I also wrote an article about it. I think when you talk about the visits, there are visits when it go from here to abroad, from Sri Lanka to abroad, it goes as the outgoing visit. We also receive visits towards Sri Lanka, that is the incoming visits. So whether it is an incoming visit or the outgoing visits, I would categorize them into 5 different categories.
Five different categories.
The number 1 category is the state visit. I will explain them later. Category 1 is state visit. Then the official visit. Then the working visit. Then the transit visit. And the private visit.
Sorry, I didn't hear the last one.
Private visit. Private visit, which you are talking about at that time. So, when it says the state visit normally undertaken by the head of the state or the head of the government, generally by the head of state, on the invitation of his or her counterpart of a receiving state or the host country. And it has 3 main ingredients in that. Number 1, the official discussions and the ceremonial welcome. Ceremonial welcome, official discussions, and the banquet. So these are the main 3 ingredients of a state visit. Then you come to official visit. The official visit is also something go with an invitation by the host government. It can be at the level of the head of state, it can be at the level of the head of government, or it can be level of even the ministers, but it goes according to the invitation. There you don't have the official welcoming function there. The other 2 may be there, mainly the bilateral discussion that take place between the 2 parties. So that is the official visit. The 3rd category which I told you is the working visit. The working visit is for a specific purpose. You go there, you participate in a summit or a meeting, or you have the discussion or with particular, subject or particular area with a particular minister or whoever who is inviting, then you get back. So this is the working visit. And the fourth is the transit visit. So when you go on a long haul flight, if you are going by commercial aircraft, then you have to break your journey somewhere. And that journey also will be about 3-4 hours. So even if you go in your own aircraft, there is a reason for you to break it for refueling. Okay, so I think that transit also come as part of the visit, where there is an involvement of the, the host government as well. Then you come to the private visit. The private visit is sometimes a tricky area, where sometimes it is purely a private visit, or the private visit is combined with part of the official visit, or one of the visits that I have mentioned, the first 3 visits that I have mentioned. So what is here the important, it is mainly the first visit, mainly the state visit is generally hosted by the government which has invited you. They take care of the hospitality as well as the security, protocol and everything, generally. And you only take care of, UIR fare and things like that. And when you land, you are under full hospitality. And also that's also decided based on sometimes the numbers. They will say, definitely the head of state is invited as a head, then he will be fully, fully hosted by the state government or the government that is, inviting you. And same as mostly in the official visit also. Working visit depends. If you are going for a specific purpose there, then, sometimes you will have to pay for, your hotel bills and things like that. Transit, of course, you are going there is nothing much for the host government to spend. But all these places, it is important to make sure that important to understand either the host government or the sending government spent for the security of the head of state. So whether it is even in the private, a component of a state visit or the official visit or the working visit, you can't differentiate the security. Security generally is accepted as part of the official.
So just to clarify, the security detail, the aspects, they are provided by the host country or from Sri Lanka?
It is both. I think, there is a, you have a discussion with the host government when you have, when you pre-plan the visit. The planned visits are just not take just like that. It is, well planned, and there are advanced team that go and they sit with the host government and they discuss many things, including the program. The responsibility of providing security lies with the host government generally. But the coordination of the security and other aspects, I think you don't disclose everything about the individual who is going, particularly his preferences, food habits. Those things you don't always discuss. And there is somebody who goes from the security point to coordinate those things. I think, so when you say the security, it is generally the responsibility of the host government to provide the security. But it doesn't mean that there is nobody from the sending state to coordinate the security aspect.
Yeah,
so
that's very clear.
Clarify 2 things. One is security is normally in an accepted principle. Security is part of the official component of a private visit. Even if it is a private visit, security is part of the official component. And the coordination part is done by the sending state, whereas the responsibility of the the security lies with the host government, because they are the people who know how to give the security in their country.
Right. So, in relation to a private visit, how does that work out? If it's not any of the others items that you highlighted, but it's just a private visit.
If it is purely a private visit, if it is purely a private visit, if it is purely a private,
if it is, yeah,
I don't have any visit in my mind when I say that.
No, it's just a hypothetical question I'm asking.
Yes, if it is purely a private visit, and the private visit of a head of state of the head of government is normally communicated to the government where the country he is going to visit, and they will definitely provide the security, appropriate security to the head of state.
Right. So, if somebody at a political level arrives in a particular country, for example, it's just a random example, on a transit category, you're sort of overnight staying and then taking a few days off, that's not an official visit, that's not a state visit, but possibly a transiting, and in the process you take you commit yourself to one or two private visits. What you're saying is that the coordination of the particular politician's stay in that country is the responsibility of his own country. In this case, particularly, yes, we are talking from a Sri Lankan perspective.
Yes, if it is if he is a head of state, if he is a head of government or a minister, okay, when he comes there and particularly the head of state and the head of government, his security is paramount important, not only for us, not only for Sri Lanka, even the country as well. So sure. I think his security is coordinated through his office, through his security office, and the providing security by the host guard, because they are the people who really know. Because you can't protect somebody in a foreign soil. You can
aspects of transportation and security, as you mentioned, overnight stays, all of that would be not for the host country in those circumstances. Is that how you see it, the protocol? Not necessarily your view, but what the protocol says.
Yeah, that depends on how the host country has been generous. Sometimes, if a country, where it's very wealthy enough, they will say, okay, we will pick up the bill. Right. But generally, I think, I have served in 9 countries. I will see 9 different examples, because they all depend on how they treat and how we are close to them. Sometimes the host country will say, okay, your prime minister is coming, your president is coming, you are most welcome, we will do everything, and they will pick up the entire bill. But some places, no, they will limit. But what is the underlining is that when a head of state or head of government visit another country, it is they give the responsibility. It is known as a state obligation. Mm-hmm. It is nothing, there is a need for us to distinguish the hospitality and the state obligation.
Right.
Hospitality is different, that gives something more than the state obligation. It is the state obligation when you visit your country for head of state, the head of government, to provide himself security. And the security aspect is coordinated by the team that is going with him.
Mm. Right. So, moving on from that point that we discussed, and your interpretation and narration of the protocol is very clear, the different segments of visits of head of state and any other politician. Now, the question then, if we move to the next stage, is how does the allocation of funds take place prior to such a visit? Now, in a head of state state visit, that's I don't think we need to go into detail, but anything below that, a working visit, transit, or a private visit, or any three of those combined together, there must be a budget at the Foreign Ministry or at the Embassy or the High Commission of Sri Lanka prior to the visit, and then somebody has to monitor the expenses, etc. How does that work out under the protocol?
I think even for the state visit, there may be expenses because there may be expenses by the sending state, by the country that the visit is going from. So, for instance, if there is a visit to America from Sri Lanka, even the state visit, there may be expenses. So what really happens is, it's all three categories of the first visit. First, state visit and the official visit and the working visits. When the visits discussion take place and the discussion mature, and the head and the mission in the particular country will have an idea what is being hosted and what is the responsibility of us. They will know. Even for a state visit, they will say, we will host you only the first 10 people. 1 plus 10, they will say. Normally, it's like 1 plus 10, or they will say 1 plus 9. They will say 1 plus 15. So that means there are components that they will absorb. For instance, apart from the security, protocol, vehicles, all that, the local hospitality. They are even in the hotels, they will say, we will pay you a hotel bill, excluding the overseas food and the laundry, generally. They will. So you will need to estimate that part. Even, and then you will also have to estimate those who are people who have not been included in the visit.
So all the people who the host state will not be accommodating, they will need to be budgeted for their expenses and monitored.
Yes. No, but I think that in Sri Lanka there is an allowance that has been approved by the government, and who is not covered by the local hospitality. The government pays the certain amount of money, depending on where the countries have been categorized into 4 or 5 categories. Of the West, there are hotel expenses are more. So their payment is made by the government. They give the per diem allowance, and then they take that allowance and settle the money. If you are hosted by the host government, you can't get the full per diem, and you will only get the incidental. Some dollars where you meet the incidental expenses. That's how it works. So it is common for all three. So the ministry, the mission concerned, do the estimate, and they will write to the foreign ministry. Foreign ministry in consultation with the ministry, with the presidential secretariat, if it is a president visit, with the prime minister, with the prime ministerial, prime minister secretariat, get the proper allocation and the impressed, and send it to the mission concerned for them to settle the bills. So that's how it works. The estimation is done in advance, and the money is sent in advance, and the settlement of the bill is taking place by the mission upon the progress of the visit.
And how the expenses are incurred and those invoices are paid.
Because there are regulations, it's all set regulations, what is permissible, what is not permissible, whether you can, you can take certain things which we don't permit. For instance, the lottery and overseas phone and all that, we don't pick up those bills. So I think they have to settle their bill from their pocket. For that only, we give them incidental allowance and things like that.
I see. That's very clear, Mr. Amza. Is there anything else you want to add before we conclude this fantastic clarification provided by you?
I think that's exactly what I could say, because this is how the visits take place, the discussion take place, and then where necessary the team go there, check and come back, and then they give the report. Based on the report, the money allocation and all that is done through the mission. That's how it
Thank you.
is done. Yeah.
That's really helpful. I hope our viewers will now have a better understanding of how the protocols of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs work in relation to overseas trips and overnight accommodation and transportation security, the full works. I am very grateful to Mr. Amza, former diplomat on behalf of Sri Lanka. I think you served in how many countries? Just give us a little bit about yourself as well before we continue.
I served in 9 capitals.
Right.
9 capitals. The last being in Russia. That is post-retirement stint I had, about 7 months.
Right.
After retirement, I was asked to go there, and I went and came back in December 2024. From January 2025, I'm here.
You are in retirement, enjoying the sunny climate in Sri Lanka.
And I'm doing my writings. I think I want to bring a book very soon with all our experiences. And only thing I just wanted to highlight that I didn't have any particular thing in my mind when I gave you explanation. It's a general feeling that I gave, how the visits are discussed, mature, what are the different type of visits and how it differ from each other.
That's very clear to me, and it's very clear from your narration to our viewers as well. So there is no doubt about it. That's a general description, analysis of the protocol. I thank you again, Mr. Amza, and my very best of wishes to you in everything you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, and for your team as well.